speak? Are there any individuals from the public wishing to address the committee? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? All right, moving on. Item 5, acknowledge the resignation of Tony. Please, someone please help me with the pronunciation.
Scripcheck.
Thank you. Is there a motion to acknowledge?
I'll move.
Motion, is there a second?
Second?
All right, all those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 6, acknowledge resignation of Tom Chartrand. Is there a motion to acknowledge?
So moved.
All right, motion by Simmons. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Schuster. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 7, recruitment update on Public Works maintainer operator and season park maintainer.
I don't know if Sean is online or not. He's not. Okay. So I guess Michael could probably speak to this as well as anybody, but we had been recruiting. I gave you a copy of the current organization chart, kind of the status of some things we can talk about maybe a little bit more. Maybe related to our closed session discussion on compensation, but we had been recruiting for a park and public works maintainer. And the initial recruitment last year really didn't find a suitable candidate.
Well, yeah, we were looking for, I guess, 2 positions last fall. We hired 1 person full-time, and then the second person we offered ended up not taking the position. So I guess instead of fulfilling the position at that point, we thought we'd wait until spring to see if there's kind of a new pool of candidates. So. Yeah.
So I guess you can fill in, I guess, so, and we did make an offer last week, and the new hire's name was Jared Huckstra. And I know his family has ties to the village or EMPD over time, but it sounds like he's very excited to be joining the public works realm and public service. So I guess we're looking forward to getting a new hire on board and kind of filling out our staff needs. So I think we had hoped he'd start on the 10th of May, but it may be a little bit later, which is fine. So just that update on recruitments there. I don't know about seasonal park maintainer, what Sean was going to add on that.
He did interview someone today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have two seasonal maintainers coming back from last year, so just looking to hire 1 this year. Kind of round up the 3 that we typically have for the summer.
Okay.
I suppose on that realm too, our seasonal utility maintainer is coming back for his 3rd summer, I do believe it'll be.
So I guess that's really all we need or have to cover on that particular item at the moment. Unless anybody has questions on anything with respect to recruitments. So that should take care of item number 7, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we just covered item 7, unless there's any other questions or remarks. Otherwise, we can dive into number 8, discussion on adjusting the classification and compensation matrix.
Okay, I guess this is a topic that maybe there's not consensus among everybody that looks at this type of thing. 2018, we had done an in-house update on what the compensation ranges would be in different positions for the village. And I guess we talked about maybe the fact that with the diversity of positions, say relative to what may be needed in say a police department where you have kind of the, like a military hierarchy almost, where you have captains, sergeants, that kind of thing, and duties are pretty consistent among different departments. When it comes, I think, to different public works or village municipal operations, there's I think a diversity of what people are expected to do, and maybe the most applicable example I can talk about there would be maybe in the public works area where our people are working across what might be traditional lines. We really have, I think we lost most every vestige of the old union mentality where you're only like in a pigeonhole or only going to do certain things. And I know we've had a couple of recent hires that came from the county, and they talk about the culture there not being very, very good. In fact, they still hold on a lot to that union mentality where if I'm a equipment operator, that's what I'm going to do, and nobody else is going to do that for me or do that job. So even though I think they've also, they should have also lost the whole union thing after Act 10, I think a lot of that stuff survives in certain places. So we've had a lot of retirements, I guess, relatively speaking, in the last couple of years. So a lot of our more seasoned, or I might call them legacy employees, or have retired and moved on. But even at that, I think we've had a lot of cooperation over time with respect to people just jumping in and doing what they need to do. So anyway, maybe a long lead in to, but
Excuse me, you said you had a lot of, I don't know what you mean by a lot of legacy employees leave. Have they left through retirement or other employment?
retirement, I should
Okay.
add that, retirement,
Right.
okay? We've been very stable, people stay, we don't have turnover in that way. Where, there's maybe disgruntlement or, I hate my coworkers or things like that. I think we've had a pretty good culture in that respect. Maybe some people don't view that as being positive. Maybe there is a desire to have some turnover. I guess what turnover does, of course, is it makes us spend more time on recruitment and takes time away from doing other things. So there's probably a balance in there somewhere, where you're gonna have a certain amount of retirement or attrition or I should say departures, because we can't, offer unlimited compensation. If people want to move up the ladder compensation wise, they may have to look outside the organization. So anyway, again, a long lead in here to maybe the difficulty in doing a class and comp study. Again, we did one in 2018 where we, try to poll other municipalities, other departments on what their pay ranges are, look at different recruitments and things like that. So I think based on the guidelines in our employment handbook, this is something we should be doing like every 5 years. The one question that had come up though was on the matrix itself, which was copied in the materials that were put in the packet. There was very limited stuff in the packet because we're talking about the compensation thing in closed session. So the matrix is in the packet, and what you see on there is the different pay grades, and those are supposed to reflect different levels of responsibility in the organization, different levels of decision-making authority, what goes along with that. And then you have a pay range in each of these grades that goes from a minimum, which is 87.5% of the market rate or the midpoint of a pay range or pay grade, up to a maximum of 120%, which is between midpoint and maximum is referenced as the merit range in our compensation chapter of the employee handbook. A question that came up, or maybe I guess a thing we're questioning is whether or not this matrix should be adjusted by some kind of a CPI or cost of living index every year. I guess I've been told two different things by different people. So I don't know if anybody on the committee has any perspective on that, if we should be considering doing that. I guess I did hear from an HR professional that you shouldn't be doing it until you do a full-fledged class and comp study again. So maybe more a point of discussion than anything. I don't know. And I guess I would maybe look more to Linda to answer that question, what her thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely give an opinion on it. It's obviously best practice to evaluate your pay ranges annually. Lots of things move. We're in a war on talent within our communities. So if you have access to good salary survey data, which I'm not sure, I know you had spoke to it a little bit, it's a little difficult. It's very advantageous to do it on an annual basis and to try to job match where you're at with the ranges. If you can do that annually, then you're going to keep up with market and you're going to maintain market competitiveness within your competing industry. So that's my opinion on it. I do mine annually. I've done it when I was at Aspirus, and I'm healthcare, so it's a little different. I have different salary survey data that I have access to. I would say last year was the one and only year we did not do it because of COVID. And people weren't moving and there wasn't a lot of movement happening. People were losing their jobs and it wasn't the right time. Well, I'm paying for it now. And I regret doing it, but there wasn't anything we would have done with the data because we wouldn't have moved our ranges, we wouldn't have given pay increases because of COVID. So now this year, we're spending a little bit more focused time and energy on catching up the markets and looking where our staff is compared to market to make sure we can retain the staff we have. And it sounds like the people you hire stay, so it doesn't sound like you have a big retention issue. Recruitment can be very challenging. So when you're trying to bring in someone new and your market hasn't moved, then it's very challenging to bring them in at a competitive rate if you've not made any adjustments.
Okay, well, and I guess just as another point of information, I think the town of Rib Mountain, Village of Rothschild have all contacted the other area municipalities to do their own information gathering on this very topic. So maybe what we should do is just pool our efforts and do it all together perhaps, because we're kind of competing for the same talent.
Well, I would advise against that.
Oh, yeah?
Here's why. There is some, what is it called? There's an act out there that actually advises you not to do that because it's price fixing in the market and you can get in trouble for it.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
it's
collusion?
Fair Trade Act or something, it's out there. I'm spacing it what it is right now.
Wouldn't that just apply to retail?
No, it applies to all businesses. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Public or private?
well, you'd have to look into that. I can research what that law is, but I just reviewed it with a whole bunch of other independent groups that wanted to do that, but you couldn't unless you hired a third party to do the data collection for you.
I have a
Added
question.
to that, wouldn't that trade away Weston's competitive advantage relative to other communities?
It could. That's where it's a third party where it's more blind and they just give you numbers of data and no one else within your organization is seeing it. That's where a third party is more advantageous.
So sure, okay. I know we did a third party one.
I would ask,
some years ago, but
I would ask Linda if you had a combination. Let's say you did a study every 5 years, but in the interim, you kept up by way of cost of living.
Could. Some positions might move quicker than others during that period of time.
Yes, but you aren't gonna get way behind if you wait 5 years to do a comprehensive study.
That's a way to do it too.
I just throw it out. I'm no HR specialist, but just occurred to me that why couldn't you do that? That way you're not getting behind by years if you wait every 3 or 5 years.
Yeah, well, I guess the advice to look at, and I think we did this with the finance director, or I should say deputy finance position last year, where we took a look at current recruitments with respect to a recommendation for a higher increase, if you recall it.
Yeah, it was right when, Jared left.
Compensation scale?
Right.
We also had to pay a lot more to hire somebody else.
Oh, okay, so the answer is it's really not a perfect,
There is no.
or universal way of doing this,
There
okay?
is not. There's best practice if you have access to the right tools.
Yeah. Okay, well, it's like a lot of things we get to know just enough to be dangerous on some of this stuff, so. All right. So I guess my thought would be, if there are particular positions we know are in higher demand, we probably want to, look at those. I know we're probably running into that with some of the public works positions where we're not finding people with some of those kind of hands-on, common sense kind of skills.
Yeah.
Nate, I just want to speak here, Mark Maloney here. Are we-
The chair recognizes President Maloney.
Okay, thank you, Nate. Are we running into trouble? I mean, does this matrix control us? And we're all talking about this piece, right? This matrix, okay. So let's say we need to, let's talk about the deputy director of finance. So are we restricted between 58,000 and 79,800? Or if the need is there, or if the market is that intense, can we hire it at 85,000? How does this work? Or is this just parameters that we're trying to use?
Well, if we're doing it right, we want the different positions to land within the ranges here. I guess that's what we're talking about would be, if we think that that we need to make some offer that's higher, then that would be certainly an indication we should reevaluate the position, I would think.
Well, market might drive that,
Right.
you know, and you would bring it back to HR and then you
If that-
bring it to the board.
If that's the case, though, because that would basically be the midpoint of the director of finance position, and then in that case, that would also be probably driven way up.
Exactly. So I guess what we're hoping to accomplish is the internal equity along with the external equity kind of thing. I mean, we want to be competitive in the market, but we can't be unfair to the other people that are here in similar types of positions. So I guess it's just an ongoing challenge to try to keep it up to date and make sure that we're reflective of the market.
And what have you used in the past to do the reviews?
You just had different department directors contact, we have certain municipalities that are in this, in like our population range or have similar sizes of operation. And we would try to get their salary ranges, and, you know, there is some amount of data you can get on
I feel like
Rest-
To the Bureau of Labor
the
Statistics
Bureau,
over
yeah,
there?
Bureau of Labor Statistics, right?
Okay.
But that's kind of somewhat difficult, I think, to interpret maybe. They don't have they have metropolitan areas, if I'm not mistaken, MSAs, right? And, you know, we don't necessarily always fall into one of those. And how do you factor in that you're in a more rural area? I don't know. I'm going to make a judgment about it, but
Didn't you have some data, when we looked at the deputy director of finance position? That
I
was
did look at some of that Bureau of Labor Statistics.
20 or 25 of our same populations. It was like 20 communities in the state that were both the same population.
Right, there's a publication or information that's put together to compare different communities by population range. So we try to look at the ones in our same population group when we do that. But, you know, we don't always get a complete set of data from everybody, so that's the other challenge.
You know, through Central Wisconsin Society for HR Managers, they'll do a salary survey like every year and a half. And I believe there's another organization doing it this year, that another third party doing it. I can get you information on it if that's something you're interested in.
Sure, anything to help. What is it? Central Wisconsin?
Yeah, so Central Wisconsin SHRM, it's Society for HR Managers, and it's all of Central Wisconsin, like the greater Wausau area, but I know that another party's doing it. So we used to do it internally at the CW SHRM, but we outsourced it because it just got too big to manage. I'll look to see, I think they just launched it. I'll forward you the information that has the link. You'd have to participate in it to provide your data.
Okay,
It's generic though, and then they take all the data and they scrub it together, and then you pay, I don't know what the fee is, to get all the data. And that way, you can see the different I don't know if they can see necessarily the different organizations, but they'll break it out by specific job types, and it can be challenging at times to try to match the job because you have to really understand the skill set to do it, but it can be helpful to just make sure that you're somewhat within the range.
okay.
Anything's available for.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, we were
So-
with, I think there's another organization like that, but it's more for, it's not private, it's more public. It was, HR.
Is that the one that, the Von Briesen law
No,
firm, and
no,
said
no.
that they always worked at?
IPMA, is that
Oh.
right?
ICMA?
Yes, ICMA,
I see
I
them.
think it's
Yes.
IPMA.
International.
City County Managers
yeah.
Association, I don't, guess those are other resources we can look into as well.
I mean,
Yeah, it's IPMA-HR. We used to be members of that. And that's more geared towards the public sector.
Well, that's nice, at least you have that. But you have to
We're not
remember,
members of it anymore, but we were members of it when Daniel was here.
and is it nation data? Or is it focused in on to Central Wisconsin? Because truly, you're competing
it's-
with other employers.
It actually describes itself as worldwide.
Yeah,
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
As long as they have you have to be careful with that nationwide data, because if they're throwing California and New York wages into it, then it's really gonna skew the data, unless it breaks it down by region, then it's more helpful.
I think most of them do that, don't they, where they break it down by region?
Some of them do, some of them don't.
Even at that, if you get lumped in with Chicago and
And then
Milwaukee. and-
Even Madison,
Right,
yeah.
Milwaukee. That's where it's nice when you can really have that breakdown of the data for the county. Because that's
Okay.
your direct competition for your workforce, is this area
Mhm.
primarily.
and I mean, we did that too, just looking at what like the county's pay plan was, or like the city of Wausau, and kind of looking at, our region too. And Lauren just sent a message that says the 3 sources that were consulted last time this was done was reported in the November 5th, 2018 Human Resources Committee meeting RFC. So,
right.
Thanks, Lauren.
Okay. Well, it's probably enough discussion on that.
Right.
It's an ongoing struggle.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, right now, we technically don't have anybody bumping that ceiling of their quadrants, right?
No,
Okay. And then, why is S, Q, O, and E open? Are those just extra layers that we just don't have
right,
associates in there? Okay.
right.
Okay.
So the original creation of this dates back to that Carlson Detman class and comp study that was done. And I don't remember what year that was. Was that 2012 or 2013?
somewhere around there, yeah.
So, any other thoughts on this topic at this point? No, Okay, great.
At this point, I would be willing to entertain a motion to move into closed session under statute 1985, parent 1, Karen C, to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically the 2021 employee CPI and merit increases.
So moved.
Motion by Schuster, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Hackbarth. All those in favor, please, or actually roll call vote by the clerk.
Hackworth?
Here.
Feeny?
Aye.
Schuster?
Aye.
Simmons?
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are now entering closed session.
This is my first time Zooming with a closed session.
So who's in the waiting room or who's on the Zoom call?
Well, right now, I guess I put somebody by the name of owner in the waiting room, but they were. And then, so it's Lauren, myself, and Nate, and then I guess this boardroom. So I'm supposed to pause the recording, right?
Right. We'll get the door open and did you put the recording back on, Michael?
Yep, I resumed recording. There's nobody in the waiting room, so, okay.
Lauren left?
No, Lauren's still on. I
Oh,
never kicked Lauren
I
out.
can't imagine Lauren wouldn't still be there.
All right, is there a motion on anything in closed session?
I would make a motion to accept the, what do you want to call this document?
Employee
Proposed
employee
compensation
2021
adjustments
compensation
as-
adjustment.
as outlined by staff.
Is there a second?
I have a second.
Second by Hackbarth. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any, any nays? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Remarks from staff, Clerk Weinkoff?
I don't really have anything to add. Do you have questions for me?
Okay. Director Wodolski?
No.
Administrator Donner?
Well, I guess it's not necessarily news to everybody because the board has approved us moving forward with a new municipal facility construction, so that has been a huge distraction, I suppose I could say. Since October, we created a building committee and that was probably the focus for about 3 or 4 months here, and I guess we're gonna hurdle. I certainly we're appreciative of the decision that's made and it's pretty exciting, I guess, to be involved in it, so.
Long overdue.
Yeah, I guess this place has, I guess, run its course, its days, if you will, so.
And I won't have to drive so far.
Well, we got the priorities.
Yeah, I figured that was one of them, wasn't it?
Definitely.
top on the
Top of the list.
I can almost walk there now.
Committee member Simmons? Committee member Schuster?
Nothing, thank you.
Committee member Hackbarth?
Nothing.
All right, and nothing from yours truly. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Motion by Hackbarth, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Simmons. All those in favor, please signify by saying go pack go. Go pack go. We are adjourned at 6:19.
With Rogers
Yes.
or without?
Without.